Do you feel stuck or heavy under the weight of some of the things that you've been through in the past? And sometimes it's not always clear the impact that our past has on us, but it can show up in our day-to-day lives as this sense of feeling stuck or waking up and feeling dissatisfied, or just that sense of the fact that you don't feel like you're being really seen for who you are. And underneath all of that, all of these layers, is this bright shining light that lives deep within. And it's so bright and beautiful that it's calling out for your attention underneath all of this heaviness of everything that you've been through. And it's like this inescapable sense that you know that you're worth more, you know that you're deserving of more, and you feel as though you're here to experience more, but you don't necessarily know how to get about it. But it's that little nudge that is asking for your attention, and it's so easy to push it down or to feel so stuck that you don't even know what to do with it. But if that does resonate with you, then see it as an invitation. It's an invitation to explore yourself, your inner world, to start questioning and delving within, because your soul is trying to speak to you, and there's this purpose inside of you that is calling out to be seen. So for a very long time, I struggled with this sense of feeling stuck, feeling as though I was here for more, didn't know how to get there. And because I've been through quite a lot of challenges in life, I was just stuck underneath this stagnant cloud of energy that I was dragging around everywhere with me, because I hadn't had the privilege or the know-how to start healing and working with that energy so that I could start to come through the other side of it. So the way that I see it is like life is like a bit of a game. You get born, you're this like beautiful soul that comes down for this human experience. You're born, and as you go through this portal of birth, you forget the essence of who you are. And when we come into the world, it's our job then to break our way out of this illusion of like amnesia of who we really are. And so we can remember ourselves, remember our light. And then when we do, that's when we can really start to play this game of life. So you're born into a family in whatever part of the world that you come from, and based on your race, your gender, whether you've got a disability or not, depends on how you're perceived in the world. So we've got this mainstream culture around us that defines what's acceptable, what's beautiful, what's in trend, what's in vogue, all of that sort of stuff. And throughout life, we're going through school where we're conditioned into certain patterns of behaviour, when we should be getting up and leaving the house, how long we should be sitting down on a carpet, swallowing a narrative of specific information, and then going against our own bodily needs. So if you need the toilet, you've got to sit there and rock until you're given permission to go to the toilet. So it's this slow process of conditioning us into this mainstream society. And don't forget, within that, there's this little spark of light that's sitting within. But as you're going through all of these layers, so first of all, you come into your family. Who's your family? What's their experience? How do they move through the world? What have they been through? What's impacting their life that's come down from generations? It could be like poverty mindset. There could be abuse in the family line. There could be just all of this unprocessed anger and rage that just comes out in intolerance. And then that gets passed down until somebody wakes up enough or catches enough of that glimmer of light within them that then helps them to realise, hang on a minute, what is this? And do I want to perpetuate that, whether you're going to go on and have children or not, or whether just, you don't want to move through the world with that baggage. So you've got your family stuff that you're wearing. Imagine now layers of coats. So you put on one jacket that comes from your family, then you put on another jacket that comes from your gender, your race, your location. So now you put, okay, so that's who I am according to all of these coats and these layers. You go through school, you go into the workplace. Through your experiences in the workplace, you're figuring out who you are, whether you got to explore your true creativity or whether you just went into a job because it seemed like it was societally acceptable. So again, you're just following the societal standards, and inside this light is still calling out to be seen. So if you've got that sense of feeling stuck, that is an invitation for you to start peeling back some of these layers, start asking some questions, and start figuring out who you are at the core of it. What does your soul want to express? Who is it that lies beneath all of this conditioning? And once we start to do that, once we start to become curious, that is the key to getting to the starting line of this game, really. It's like these different levels. So the first level of the game is you just going along as per the program. When you get to the next level, this is when you start to get some of the cheat codes, because now you're questioning everything that you've been taught, that you've been told. And it's that, with that questioning and then the critical thinking, that helps you to start seeing the world a little bit differently. So it's all these deepening layers of getting to know yourself, questioning, inquiring, and then your view of the world starts to change based on what you actually think and feel. And sometimes it can take a lot of courage, but once you do it, and once you know that it's safe to start questioning the narratives, it's safe to start then adjusting your behaviours so that you become more in line with who you are and what's right for you. And so, for example, with myself, I didn't really know what I wanted to do or be. I just went into I did a million different types of jobs from working in McDonald's to working in a record store, working in restaurants, all these little bits and pieces, when I left school, didn't know who I was or what I was doing. And based on my race and gender and the representation that I saw in the world when I was growing up, there wasn't much representation that was inspiring me. I couldn't sing and I wasn't sporty, so what was I supposed to do? So eventually I settled in a soul-destroying job in banking, where I stayed for like 12 long years of just feeling like a square peg in a round hole, and having a naturally curious and inquisitive mind, but finding that in that environment, they don't want you to be curious and inquisitive. In fact, you're seen as a bit of a problem if you start questioning the status quo. Like, we were doing things on these spreadsheets and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, does it need to be done like that? Because I can see how you can save a lot of time by just doing it like this. But instead of being celebrated for your ideas, it's like, stop stepping out of line, and then you become problematic. So I struggled for a long time in an environment where I just didn't fit. And I didn't question it, because as far as I knew, work wasn't even supposed to be something that you were meant to enjoy. It was supposed to be something that you just did because we're supposed to earn money so we can afford to live and buy a house and all of that sort of stuff. So you just follow, again, these mainstream narratives of what we're supposed to be doing without even stopping and questioning, am I happy? Am I enjoying this? And I wasn't happy. I was deeply depressed and suffering with very serious anxiety disorder when I was in the bank, because I was going so much against what my natural spirit was trying to guide me towards. But I didn't even have the illumination to know that the resistance was because I was not in flow. I was just like, well, this is how it's supposed to be, until I got really, really ill, struggling badly with my mental health, and loads of physical things were manifesting because I was so out of alignment with who I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. And because for such a long time, I didn't even question that. But once I did start questioning, and once I started going to therapy and started reflecting on my inner world and realising, hang on a minute, what you mean I don't actually just have to do this? And it sounds very simplistic when you say it like that, and some people might be like, yeah, duh. But if you've been so deeply conditioned into society's ways that you can't see the wood for the trees, sometimes you need these hard-hitting questions of reflection to kind of slap you around the face and take off your rose-tinted glasses or your firm perspective of what you believe life is, and just be willing to question the narrative and say, is this what I think is good? Does this feel right to my spirit? And then you can start aligning with who you're really meant to be. But it is a process. And once you start to do that, the game of life becomes a lot more fun, because once you start to break out of this illusion of what life is and realise that you can be a conscious creator within it, so much begins to change. I was at one point of my life where life was so bleak, I did not want it to continue. I was ready for it to be over and done. And imagine now where I've come to in life. My book is just about to be published with Hay House. I've been on a deep journey of healing and reclaiming my power from all these different places over the years. And I've written a book to help you to do it as well, because I've become so passionate about it, because I know how imprisoned I was in my mind, and I know how bleak life was. And now I've come to a place where I find so much joy in the simplicity, because I dared to ask myself, you know what is it that actually makes you happy? Is it the material stuff? Is it chasing the house? Is it chasing the holiday and the 2.4 kids? Or is it something much more simple than that? Is it just found within that light within and that connection to something greater? Because once you do peel away all of those layers and you come to find that the beauty is just in the very basic simplicity of life, life will never be the same again. And the contentment that you wake up with every day is just well worth asking yourself those uncomfortable questions. So I'm wondering, are you prepared to start asking yourself some uncomfortable questions and start getting to the bottom of who it is that you really are? Just start with some gentle points of self-inquiry. When you start to feel that resistance, ask yourself, what is this resistance trying to tell me? What is this discomfort guiding me towards, where I'm not in alignment with who I'm supposed to be? If I was playing this as a game of life, what lesson can I take? What reward can I take from this challenge? Because when you start to see these challenges as opportunities and this resistance as like little golden nuggets to know yourself more deeply, and you stop thinking, why me, or feeling like a victim in life, and you start to take like radical self-responsibility for looking at these challenges, looking at this pain, questioning it, learning from it, growing from it, and then starting to take actions that, like, if you've been doing something and finding yourself in these patterns of like discomfort and punishing yourself effectively, but like, give yourself grace, because you don't always know that you're doing it. You're just in these unquestioned patterns that I've been talking about. But once the illusion starts to lift and you start to challenge these, and I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. It can happen in stages. First stage is awareness. That's illuminating it, shining a light on these ways that we conduct ourselves, and saying, actually, what is all that about? And is there a vulnerability within me that is asking to be seen? Is there something in me that is scared? And just shine this, it's like this candle, and you're in this darkness, and you bring this candle in without any expectation, just gently bringing this light and shining it around in the darkness and asking, what is there to see here? And it can feel overwhelming, and sometimes looking in dark places can feel frightening. But just trust that sometimes these fears that stop us from getting to the next level of our lives are related to something that comes from the past. And often we can look back and find little versions of ourselves, younger versions of ourselves, that are sitting behind us, feeling frightened. And because they're frightened, they're like animals backed into a corner. So they create this big energy that feels really scary. And it's kind of surrounding you from the back, and you're scared to even look behind you. But when you do, and you bring in this little light, and you start to see that there is just a little frightened version, unsure version of you that's dwelling there, and you see them for who they are, just that inner child version of you that at one point didn't feel seen, didn't feel protected, didn't feel understood. And just start seeing how you can connect to them in this moment. What is it that they need to feel safe? Where do you need to be more certain? Just start asking yourself some gentle questions and engaging with the fear. And then you'll begin to see it starts to diminish. And in that, the light grows brighter. You can see yourself and this game of life more clearly. And then you can begin to play consciously. And it becomes so much more fun when you're not acting from these automatic patterns of behaviour that have just come from these ancestral lineages or societal narratives, and then you take back control of your life. And all of that can feel a little bit overwhelming. And when it does, just let yourself slow down, take a breath, take any pressure off to be in any particular place, and just embrace it as a journey. Just close your eyes, let your body soften, put your hand on your heart and take a breath, and remind yourself that you're safe and that you're just opening up in awareness, gently and softly, to see what needs to be seen, what's being illuminated, what's no longer serving you, and what can be left in the past. And just begin this process of setting the intention to see what you need to see what can be let go of, so that you can move on to the next stage of your life. And take the pressure off, embrace the journey, and wake up each day just with a sense of willingness to observe any resistance, negative interactions, negative responses that come up throughout the day that are trying to remind you and guide you back to who you really are. So that's it for today. Remember, this whole game of life is here for you to play and for you to enjoy. It can be hard at times, but with courage, self-inquiry, and a whole lot of grace, we can really begin to enjoy this crazy old life. I'm sending you so much love, wishing you a beautiful week ahead. Come connect with me. I will drop a link in the description, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Big love. Peace out. Have a beautiful week.